What's up, everybody? This is your boy Heel Call Michael, and welcome to another installment of Heelverse. And we got tons of topic to discuss for this episode. And for this topic, we got WWE releasing talent. We're gonna talk about does hip hop really need Drake, and also fumble era in WWE. So let's start off with the WWE cutting talents. Now, back in the day, we got used to of seeing talents getting released after WrestleMania or 2 weeks after Mania. And once they get released, we probably see some names that we don't see that often or just lack of care. And back in the day, and when they get released, we probably see them wrestle elsewhere, either small indies or during that time, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, Noah, any other promotion you could think of back in the day. But years after that, when they get released, you will see them either in AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, or New Japan, or sometime Noah or DDT. People don't know that's Dramatic Dream Team Pro Wrestling. That's my favorite promotions. CMLL or any other promotions. But now in this modern day era, if you can release, you can go to either AEW, New Japan, CMLL, any Europe promotions. That's it. Because WWE have partnered up or brought out the promotion. Like TNA, they brought out Triple A, which they made Polish. I prefer the OG Triple A. Um, they partnered up with Noah, and you pretty much not say limited, but you pretty much can go those promotions because they partnered with WWE. Prime example, last year they brought out Triple A, and the first thing they did was they released Alberto Patron because they want nothing to do with him, and he got bad history with WWE. So when WWE partnered with Triple A, they had to cut him loose, and they had to polish him up. I mean, polish him up. I mean, polishing Triple A, and which is kind of like the 02, 03 ruthless aggression era. But in this time, for the past couple of days, close to the week, we've seen tons of talent being released right now. So here's all the list of people who got released: Carrie Sane, Alistair Black, Zelina, Uncle Howdy, or known as Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Santos Escobar, Motor City Machine Gun, Dexter Loomis, Apollo Crews, Rowan, Joe Gacy, Andre Chase, Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, Tyra May Steels, who was the winner of LFG and who's a former gold medalist for women wrestling. Serena Linton, Tyson, Tariq, Chris Allen, Malik Blade, Trill London, those guys from Evolve, Luca Crucifino, and a recent release, Carver Kingston, Xavier Woods, JC Patel, and Tonga Loa. Those lists, I will compare it to Black Wednesday. Why I compare those two? Black Wednesday happened during the pandemic, the earlier pandemic, when the whole world just paused and pro wrestling was in a different environment when you got no fans, just empty crowds or at that Thunderdome, and certain talent would show up because of the whole COVID-19. And they released a whole bunch of fan favorites. And a couple months later, they popped right up on AEW. In this situation, they released the people who were involved with the storyline, factions, or not using properly. Or in TKO situation, they don't like certain things or the contract situation. Now, certain things I'm talking about is when they released the whole entire YS6, they didn't like the darker characters. In my opinion, that's one of the stupidest things I ever heard. Darker characters colorful characters, whatever. I feel like Y6, they never got their full potential. And I feel like TKO, they don't know what to do with them because they don't involve with darker character. They should have stayed with Triple A. Now I know people saying why Triple A they should stay with WWE main roster because they got so much potential. If you look back, seeing Y6 feuding with Psycho Clown or Psycho Circus, it was entertaining. It was fun. I feel like they would have a ball in that match. A circus street fight. There were some funny moments. They can wrestle. They can entertain the crowds, and I feel like they're more fitting in Triple A more than WWE because they got creative room to breathe. I'm not saying they are terrible wrestlers. I know they can pull up one hell of a entertaining match. What we see, Joe, Dexter Loomis, Nikki Cross, Bo Dallas, they know what they can do in the ring. But the characters, I feel like it's more fitting for Triple A because in that environment they can do whatever they want to do over there. The problem is these so-called writers they rely on Chat GPT. They have pretty much documented about that part. And not only that, they don't have ideas. And they're stuck with them with MFT. And plus, they held the WWE Tag Team Championship hostage. That's a terrible part. And another terrible part is they don't have that many tag teams. So I feel like they didn't do with them with the other tag teams division. Like when we see Machine Guns, La Garza, other teams. They didn't do with them. And speaking of MFT, JC Mattel and Tonga Lord. JC Mattel, who was a former tag team champion with Tamatanga, I feel like they fumbled. I wish I would use that word more often in this episode. They fumbled with him. And I knew the moment he stepped foot in WWE, I got a feeling they gonna fumble this man. Because when he was wrestled and pairing up with United Empire, he was a former IWGP Tag Team Champion. He was a former never openweight champion at one point, former New Japan World Television Champion. He was doing a phenomenal job. Not only be part of the United Empire, but he had a great career. Hell, before United Empire, he was kicking ass in Lucha Underground, in which I think TKO owned the rights, in which I don't know what they're going to do with that. But Jeff Cobb was killing it in New Japan. If he would have stayed in New Japan, not only he would be part of the United Empire, but likely he would have been an IWGP Global Champion, never overweight champion, and hell, even IWGP Heavyweight Champion if they played the card right. But that didn't happen. So they fumble him. Another big fumble. Tungaloa. I know people make fun of him because he always goofed up the moves, whatever. But one thing we're not going, one thing we're not going to take away from him is he's one hell of a tag team technician. He's more of a tag team technician than he's a single superstar or a single wrestler, unlike his brother Tamatonga. They missed out a great, huge opportunity with God versus the Uso. And this is the main reason why that you need purists in your writing team and not being controlled by TKO because they would have made lots of money with God versus the Uso. The storyline is set outside from WWE. They could bring that into WWE, have a fight either with the title or without the title, give us the match at WrestleMania. We didn't get that. That was stupid of WWE and TKO. And that make you realize they're not purists like Tony Khan. They're more of a businessman. And not all business are good business. And that's why I could tell from TKO and WWE. And then we look at New Day, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods. If you had told me that New Day will be released, I would have said no because they are WWE lifers. They support WWE. They have a great career. But that's not the case. When it's come down to the money, that's where shit matters. And that's what Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods were looking at. And the contract wasn't looking right. TKO wasn't budging. New Day, they decided to dip. And that was a huge shocker. Huge, huge shocker. And I feel like that's going to bite WWE right in the ass. Because two things. Remember when Roman Reigns was talking about there's no competitions and if you want to be a big stage, you gotta come to WWE because that's where the tippy top of the mountain. I feel like Roman Reigns and everything he said was was a hypocrite and bullshit because what we just seen is they might be the number one company because they got great business, great sponsorship. But far as wrestling goes, not so much. Making the crowd happy, unless you're a WWE hardcore fans, you don't watch any other promotion, and you're just a weeaboo, and WWE will buy you out. And number two, now AEW is going to look at New Day or pretty much any new talent release because I don't know how long they got that clause. Because some may have 60 days, 90 days, or no clause, or they're going to wiggle through the system like how Andrade did. In this case, AEW is or Tony Khan is gonna rub his hand like Birdman because he gonna pick up the ones gonna make some money or make some impact. But I doubted that Tony Khan gonna make some impact. I do see New Day coming to AEW and wrestle in New Japan. Now Indies, I can see them doing that, but AEW is gonna be their new home. JC Metal, he's coming right back home to United Empire. That's for sure. Now Tungaloa, in his case, if we do expect to see some more release and they release Tamatanga, one, that will be a blessing because now God can go wherever they can go to, wherever they want to go. And another one is we may see them pair up in AEW or a little reunion with the Bullet Club, Brother Mates, or Stalemates. That's another part. Now the rest, we will see them in the Indies. We will see them go everywhere else. As long as we can see them on the TV screen or streaming, we'll be fine. Um, Motor City Machine Gun. Likely they'll be going to Indies and they will be welcomed back in open arms and they're gonna make a big impact. Santos, I believe he's gonna wrestle in CMLL because he was part of Triple A. He was part of Triple A, not WWE main roster. He was part of Triple A. So that part was a head scratcher. And Wyatt Six, I'm at great opportunity. They could have did better with them creative wise, but it let me know that they are not great writers. If you're a great writer, you would have a tons of ideas, and you would have put them where they would feel more comfortable. I would have put them in either Impact Wrestling or Triple A because I feel like they would be feel more home and feel more comfortable, and I feel like Uncle Howdy will have more opportunity. And do I see him be a main event player in a right place at a right time? Yes, I truly do. I truly do. I do believe that he will be a major player. Nikki Cross will be treated right, and she should have been multiple time world champion, women world champion. But the crazy part is when she was superhero Nikki Cross, she had win more championship than she was um Sister Abiel, Sister Gabriel, or Sandy Nikki, in which she won NXT Women title back in the day. But with all these releases, I do see them, go everywhere. AEW is going to be filled. But I believe not everybody going to AEW. I believe they go to, Mexico, Europe, mostly Indies, uh, hell, even NWA. But mostly, some of these names, they're going to AEW. Because that's where the price is right. So, as we jump from pro wrestling, let's get down to music. Now, people know me, I'm a big hip hop fan. I love hip hop. But what's really sicking me is everybody's talking about, does hip hop really need Drake? Because Drake been gone. I think Drake been gone almost a full year. Like the last song we heard from Drake was "What Did I Miss?" off his album was come out soon, Iceman. Now I'm not gonna lie, back in the day, I used to listen to Drake. He's great. He's great for background music for PS5. When you about to play FIFA or FC and you play music for the background, Drake is your guy when you play music for background. But anything else, no. I'm more of a Kendrick Lamar fan. I'm more of a Top Dog Entertainment fan. I'm more of those artists more than Drake. Drake is more like what Most Def said. More of a music you play in Target. He's a shopping mall music artist. but but what really kills me about this whole situation, hip hop don't need just one guy. Hip hop needs, more artists to step up and make hip hop be known again. They's there, but I feel like it took a back burn because there's no hip hop artist made to a Billboard for over a couple of years. That's what they said. But people are pushing mainstream artists versus the artists who did their thing without being gimmick. Like Isaac Rashad just dropped an album. This is a mess. He dropped a beautiful album. That album was really awesome, but nobody is talking about it because I feel like the artist is targeted to a certain crowd, to a certain audience, compared to Drake, who is a mainstream artist who is target larger crowd, who is not, how put it this way, who is not open minded. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, who's not open minded. They're more of being part of the group, be part of the vibe, that type of thing, versus open minded artists. And when I talk about open minded artists, someone like Kendrick Lamar, someone like J. Cole, someone like SZA, or someone who else I can think of? Tail Whack, Little Yachty. Those artists who's open minded, but they never get, pushed. Hell, Snoop Dogg just dropped an album not too long ago, but nobody is talking about it because they all really want Drake. And to me, as a hip hop fan, do I consider Drake as a goat? To be, no. He is the hip hop version of The Miz because you respect his work, you respect his craft, but you're not gonna put him right next to the greats who got great body of work. You're not. Of course, people could bring up like, yeah, he sell records and this and that, but have you forgotten that he is a Degrassi artist? Have you forgotten that he used to be an actor for Nickelodeon and who tried to act hard on the records? Yes, he found success with Young Money Records, and he owned his OVO records. To be honest, it's one of the worst fucking record labels of all time because nobody's making it out from OVO. But back in the day, you look at the golden days of era or golden days of hip hop from like the 90s to 2000s, hip hop was a collective genre. If someone, take a little step back, other artists are really hungry to take that spot. They're really hungry to be number one spot. Like Ludacris would say, they want that number one spot. You rely on, okay, if this person not going, drop some music, I got this person, or another person, or a whole roster of hip hop artists who ready to drop some dope music. That's the one thing that I do love and miss about the '90s or the 2000s, because every single artist you look for, it'll pop up, or even a fresher artist will pop up. They'll be the one who take over. But in this era, they just rely on one person because they feel like if Drake is not dropping the album, nobody is making money. That's to show me that you just rely on person and you don't believe your own talent. Prime example, the game. Yes, I was a huge fan of the game, and I feel like he could be one of the dopest artists. But all I see is him being a cheerleader for Drake, and which that really broke my heart. And plus, him picking Drake over Kendrick, that's more crazy than ever. And I know he put Kendrick over, but of him saying he's the best competent artist of all time, I'm like, you got a long way to go, buddy. But in my honest opinion, I feel like hip hop should do better and not rely on one person. And hip hop can survive with or without Drake. It's all about evolution. It's all about how you're gonna take the hip hop to the next level. So that's my take on it. And here is the main event of the whole topic. WWE have entered the new era. The new era I'm talking about, fumble era. If you look back from, I can't say from last year to this year. Well, last year they have a good stellar. Well, I take it back. They did fumble on this John Cena retirement tour. I will say that. I had to think about it. I had to think about it because for the past months or like a year or so, WWE have been fumbled real hard, and I know why. All thanks to TKO. Because once TKO starts seeing WWE is not doing a good job or whatsoever, they decided to take control. Now I don't know how long they've been taking control. In my last episode, last installment of Heel Thoughts, I discussed this. I feel like TKO or WWE, they have fumbled so many opportunities. Let's look back this year, WrestleMania. Hell, let's think back of the road to WrestleMania. They have fumbled so many opportunities. Like I said earlier, Uso versus God when the Uso was a tag team champion. Now, could they have Uso and God fought each other? Yes, because we've seen talent jumping one brand to another like there's no tomorrow, or they jumped the brand to brand like back in 2012 when they had the Super Show era. And then we're going to talk about how Roman Reigns and CM Punk Road to WrestleMania look. It was one of the most weakest Road to WrestleMania I've ever seen. It was fumbled because they could have Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk could have fight anybody. But they decided with Roman Reigns and CM Punk in that era. And then we look at celebrities. They have installed so many celebrities in WrestleMania, people was turned off about it. It got so bad that Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll themselves, they want to take themselves out because it doesn't make sense. And now you look at the road to WrestleMania, then you look at this WrestleMania. I said it was a fumble mania on night one. It didn't feel like mania. You got people talking about it, and they say they had too many sponsors. The match was short, and you know there was TKO involvement in that situation. And then we look at the talent release. I have never seen so much great talent being let go since, like I said, Black Wednesday. And on top of all that, they want to consider themselves as number one. Roman Reigns saying it, all the WWE weeboos people saying it. To me, they are not number one. Right now, AEW is number one. I'm talking about wrestling wise. I'm talking about, forget the ticket sales. We're talking about match, wrestling, morale, how the fans react. If you got the fans give more praise to AEW, that lets you know that they the one who's in the top spot. Now, who's number two? For damn sure in WWE. I don't care how much money you're bringing in. I feel like New Japan is right there. As long they don't lose that too many people because of the whole money situation. Or they want to work with Hiroshi Tanahashi, in which we probably bring that up in the near future. But the reason why I say this is a fumble era because they lost their way. Because back in the day, during the ruthless aggression era, they found their identity. They didn't rely on crazy shit because there was no war back then. Yes, TNA was there, but WWE stayed focused. They pulled up some best matches, best pay per view back in the day. Same thing with TNA. They had some great matches and great moments over there. So it felt like it was a great time to be a wrestling fan back in the day. Before that, the Attitude Era. Yes, we all fall in love with that era because we grew up, we lived through that moment. You can feel the momentum swifting from WCW to WWE, hell, even through ECW. But now you don't see that. It felt empty. It felt soulless because it's it's fueled with TKO money. It's filled with sponsors from left and right, like even Netflix. I thought Netflix was supposed to be commercial free, but every time I turn on Netflix to watch WWE Raw, all I see is DoorDash. When you watch SmackDown, you see 2020 Mad Dog malt liquor. I'm not joking. You see that in the middle of the ring. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why are we seeing that? Why are we see sponsor in the ring? Now, we've seen that in New Japan, sponsors in the middle of the ring, but it didn't control New Japan. New Japan was being New Japan. But with WWE, I feel like we about to go into a fumble era. I feel like it's going to be a rough time. It's going to be like watching the Dallas Cowboys try to win the Super Bowl, in which there was no way in hell they can do it. Just like WWE. I feel like WWE would not going to go back where they used to be back in the day. And for people asking for Vince McMahon to come back, I'm like, you don't remember from you don't remember from the PG era through the fucking pandemic era? And yes, WrestleMania 40 was helped by Vince McMahon because Triple H say that. But at the same time, after that, it went from WrestleMania 40 treated like an MCU to Tubi. that's how fast it went. It went from MCU to Tubi because WWE got nowhere to go because they put all in one egg in one basket, known as Roman Reigns. And now we going right back to the same person, Roman Reigns. They don't put new talent, in which they are like Trick Williams and Camilla Hayes, Obafemi. They put some pieces together, but my question is, can they get out from this fumble era, or this going to be one of the worst era we've seen since PG era? So that's my thoughts about this whole topic. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you love it. I hope you like, share, comment, and don't forget to drop some coins to support the channel. And I will see you guys next time. I'm your boy Heel Carmichael, and this is Heelverse Show. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.